Hello everyone, this is the first video clip for the online meeting of March 26th. Okay, so today I will begin to discuss the issue or say the content on implementing aviation security, lecture 9, right? I'm planning to use 3 meetings to finish this lecture, and I will finish the first part of the lecture, and for the next 2 meetings, your TA John will finish the rest part of this chapter. Okay, let's get started. Aviation system has always been attracting greatest security attention from policymakers, organizations, associated organizations, and governments globally. Although aviation system is the most difficult one to attack compared to maritime and land transportation, but if the attacker succeeds, there will be huge damage, a lot of casualties, right? That's the reason why aviation system is the hardest to protect. And at different levels, there are organizations, agencies, and governments. They are focusing on the security of aviation systems. So the most famous one at international level is ICAO, which is International Civil Aviation Organization. Okay, it's a part of United Nations, and it's not only responsible for the security of aviation systems, but when we're talking about security, aviation security, the most important task of ICAO is maintaining something called Annex 17. I mentioned this document before, right? It provides standards on aviation security principles, organizations, measures, and management of response to acts of unlawful interference. Okay, so there are currently 19 annexes from ICAO. They're covering different aspects of aviation industry, and specifically Annex 17 is for the security of aviation system. And also ICAO has the responsibility to enhance the international cooperation, okay, on aviation security. So in 2010, the ICAO Assembly, you can consider this assembly as a committee, adopted a declaration on aviation security that constitutes a very strong commitment by member states. So each member in ICAO is a nation, is a country, to strengthen aviation security worldwide, principally by enhancing international cooperation. So they're also trying, ICAO is also trying to unite governments from all over the world to enhance aviation security. EU has its own civil aviation security standards, and it's called Regulation 300/2008 because it was implemented in 2008. The standards, they were adopted in the EU Parliament, so EU Council in 2008. So the regulation applies to this regulation 300. This regulation applies to all non-military, or you can say civil airports in EU countries, and also air carriers, airline companies, or cargo carriers, right? Air carriers using those airports and all entities providing services to such airports. Okay, it's not only for airports themselves, it's also for all stakeholders related to airports, civil airports in EU. The basic standards cover all aspects of airport security, aircraft security, airport supplies, right, etc. and etc. So it's a very comprehensive regulation on civil aviation security. And there is also a committee at EU assists in defining different methods, measures, means for meeting the standards, right? We have standards, and we need specific measures and specific methods to implement them, right? And each EU country is also required, is responsible for designing a single national authority, right, to be responsible for implementation of this regulation. So which means that this regulation is a law for all EU countries. You are part of EU, so you are responsible to form an agency, or in summary, agency or committee or something else. It must be a single national authority to help implement the regulation 300. That's EU. And in the United States, because I'm going to talk about the aviation security systems of United States a lot later. So here is just a summary of the aviation security in US, right? So the national strategy for aviation security is outlined in HSPD 16, right? Issued by President Bush in 2006. So the national strategy for aviation security is you can consider this as the leadership of aviation security system in US. So there are different aviation system is a very complex entity, and there are a lot of components, right? Commercial aviation, general aviation, and other types of aviation. So I'm going to introduce them one by one. Not necessarily in this meeting, right? But let's talk about commercial aviation first, or you can say business aviation for mainly for passengers, but also maybe for cargos, right? So U.S. commercial aviation security has continued to be the most elaborated, resourced, and strict element of all transportation security efforts, right? It draws the most attention. And its post 9/11 evolution has been profoundly shaped by what? The Aviation and Transportation Security Act, ATSA 2001, okay? And the TSA, of course, again, is the lead federal agency for commercial aviation security under ATSA. And this is a priority of the agency because it accounts for most resources from TSA, right? 93% of TSA workforce and more than 3/4 of its budget in recent years are used to secure what? To secure commercial aviation safety. So that's a highest priority for TSA. Several main, say, methods from TSA to secure commercial aviation. The first one, they train and employ aviation transportation security inspectors. It's called TSIAS. Be careful, this is different from transport security officers. The later one you can see here, right? Transport security officers, they are the officers you can see in the airports, help you screen all your baggages and passengers. Currently, there are 47,000 transport security officers employed and deployed in all civil airports in US. But TSIAS, they are different. They help to evaluate the security posture of the 448 commercial US airports and more than 1,500 domestic and international air carriers that operate in the United States. So they are operating at a higher level. They do not screen normal passengers, right? They're working at a higher scale, right? And another main method from TSA to secure commercial aviation is what? Is something we mentioned last time in land transportation security implementation. It's the VIPR program and the National Canine Program or K9 program, right? Police dog. The TSA uses teams in land transportation security and also commercial aviation. Okay, so like I introduced last time, VIPR is a comprehensive intermodal program for transportation security. Okay, not only for land transportation but also for commercial aviation. And um, for commercial aviation, for the security of commercial aviation, there are multiple layers to protect the safety of passengers, of cargoes. And these layers include airport security, the pre-screening of passengers, and the screening of passengers and cargoes and baggages. I'm going to introduce them one by one. So the first layer is airport security. So the layer changed the least after 9/11, which means it stays the same. Before, not stays the same, changed, but not much since 9/11. So federal role exercised mainly through establishment of requirements for and approval and oversight of a program called Airport Security Program, or programs, because these programs they are they are produced for all airports in US, and each one has a specific one. So these programs, they are different from each other, but they are all under this program, under this specific matter. Okay, so airport operators under this program, airport operators, they are responsible for most security functions. An airport operator is a big company that operates one or multiple airports, commercial airports. So airports, if you didn't know, now you should know that airports, they are not maintained, or they are not run by local government. Okay, they are under the management of airport operators. Okay, on the other hand, TSA only helps improve the security of airport parameters and access controls for secure areas and to reduce risks posed by airport workers, which means TSA, they help to preserve the area occupied by an airport, and they also do identification check, background, and etc., and all other methods to make sure that airport workers, they are not potential criminals or even terrorists. Okay, but you should know, in the airport, the main airport operators, these companies, they are responsible for most security functions. Okay, and ASP serves as the foundation for the entire airport security system and establishes the security areas and details on how access to these areas is controlled. Okay, and under this program, so this program is a policy entity, but specific detailed security programs, the program here now I'm using is a document for a specific airport. Okay, a specific program or specific document is designed for each individual airport. Okay, to secure, how can I say, to protect the safety of each airport. Okay, so that's the first layer. The second layer is passenger pre-screening. So assessing the risk posed by would-be airline passengers, which means when you buy your ticket, when you buy a ticket, buy an airplane ticket, you will be pre-screened before their entrance into security checkpoints. It is a federal responsibility related to multiple agencies because you're collecting passengers' information, right? Full name, gender, date of birth, nationality, and maybe other information. You need agencies inside TSA, outside TSA, or even outside DHS to gather this information and create a profile of each passenger and decide if they're dangerous. Okay, so which means maybe FBI, CIA, DHS, of course TSA, they're all part of this. Okay, but finding the balance between security and privacy can be very tricky. A lot of policymakers or politicians, even normal citizens, they're questioning passenger pre-screening program because of privacy issue. Okay, so there are three very famous passenger pre-screening programs in U.S. And the first one is called Secure Flight. It's a TSA program developed as a response to a recommendation by the 911 Commission. Okay, it was initiated in 2008 and it was fully operational in 2010. During these 2 years, people argued about the privacy issue could be brought by this program. But yeah, eventually in 2010, with the agency reporting that 100% of commercial passengers flying to, from, within, or over the United States, they were being vetted via this secure flight program against federal watch lists. This watch list, you can consider them as blacklists, okay? Not a killing list, but this list give you information of all dangerous people or people who may bring harm to other passengers, okay? So airlines operating covered flights are required to obtain information, right? One individuals they are making ticket reservations. Okay, so and they will transmit this information to TSA, and they will match it to its non-fly and selectee lists, and give the results back to airlines, so they can decide if this passenger can buy a ticket. Okay. And the next passenger pre-screen program is called PreCheck. I'm not sure the official pronunciation of this, but that looks like a check, a symbol for check. I would say PreCheck. You can see this program everywhere in U.S. airports, right? So basically, it's a whitelist or trusted traveler program, under which individuals who voluntarily submit a background check submit to a background check process, identifying themselves as low risks to aviation. They will receive expedited processing through security checkpoints. Of course, you need to pay money. You need to pay membership fee every year. And it was initiated by TSA in October 2011. And by the end of 2014, 120 huge airports, they are running this program, okay? And even you are a member of this program, it doesn't guarantee you the expedited processing, because TSA could just incorporate random and unpredictable security measures throughout the airport, and no individual will be granted expedited screening, which means that it's not possible for a criminal to fake a background and submit that to TSA. When he passes background check, he can just use pre-check program for his life. It's not possible because there will be random and unpredictable security checks. Okay, and also there are concerns on pre-check, right? First one, the lack of biometric identity authentication, which means that in this application process, you do not have to submit any information such as your fingerprint, your voice pattern, right? So those are biometric identities of yours, okay? And the lack of detailed background checks, which means the background checks, they are not very strict or they're not very clear. And also the security of the boarding pass barcodes. It's possible that this pre-check barcodes for boarding pass, they could be hacked. They could be adjusted. They could be manipulated by bad people, right? In that case, you can just maybe bypass this program and let the airport think that you have been a member of PreCheck. right? You are safe, but maybe you are not. So the security of the boarding pass barcodes for expedited screening, that's also an issue. And CBP, Customs and Border Protection, they also have their pre-screening programs. Okay, so in addition to its role in risk assessment of incoming cargo, CBP, they have a system called ATS. I mentioned this before in the former lectures. It's a web-based enforcement and decision support tool. It's just like GIS, right? GIS is collecting geographic information and use computer to deal with them. And then eventually you may want to make a decision or draw a conclusion to support policymakers, to support another decision you need to make. ATS is the same, but it is not collecting geographic information. Okay, it is collecting information of passengers. It is used to pre-screen passengers arriving in the United States. So these passengers, they are foreigners because it's a CBP, right? If you travel domestic, you don't have to go through CBP. You don't have to cross the border, right? So this ATS system is for foreigners. CBP also has its own trusted traveler programs, just like PreCheck, right? The first one is called Global Entry. Applicants need to undergo a very strict background check and interview before enrollment in the program. I think this is very good for all those business people. They're traveling to US and back their own country multiple times a year. So of course you need to pay to join this program. And if they have this global entry, it's very convenient for them, right? The next one is between US and Canada. It's called Nexus. So it serves as an alternative to a passport for any type of travel, airline stay into the United States for US and Canadian citizens, which means I saw that before from a friend of mine. It's like a bank card or credit card. It's called Nexus. If you have a US passport or Canada passport, you can just apply for this card. So when you're traveling to Canada and get back, you just need to show this card. CBP will just swipe this card just like a credit card, so you can go through very conveniently. And another program is called Sentry. It's just like Nexus, but it's between US and Mexico. It provides for expedited customs processing at US-Mexico border crossings. So compared to Nexus, it has more strict background check. Applicants, they must undergo a thorough biographical background check, okay, to make sure you are not a potential criminal or even terrorist. Okay, so that's the first clip. It's 22 minutes. It's longer than usual. I'll just stop here. See you in the next video clip.